Welcome to 6 Million Seeds. I'm Meryl Fury.
And I'm Carrie Bruno. We are healthcare professionals and co-creators of this podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Fun, Family, and Foodie bars.
If we can involve the family in the kitchen, it's so important for teaching them life skills, but also for including that as part of the memories that we're making.
Right.
So
right.
I think even this could be a time where we say, let's try something brand new. Let's experiment as a family and see how it goes, and we'll learn from it. And if it's something that we love and that we'll make again, fantastic. If not, we'll have a lot of laughs. And, the pressure, we can just let that pressure go because we're all trying something new.
In today's episode, we had so much fun talking with Timaree Hagenburger. Timaree is a registered dietitian nutritionist, certified exercise physiologist with a master's degree in public health, as well as a speaker, media personality, and author. She specializes in plant-based nutrition, has contributed to several cookbooks, and even published her own cookbook. Her cookbook, The Foodie Bar Way, One Meal, Lots of Options, Everyone's Happy, is a refreshing and new perspective on how fun and easy plant-based eating can be. Today's conversation will highlight some tips and ideas you can incorporate into your own family's routine. So let's get started.
Hello, I am so excited to be with you. And yes, I spent 21 years of my life teaching college. And interestingly enough, I am now back with kids. So I am working as a public health nutritionist, senior public health nutritionist for the state of Florida. So I am back with kids. I'm into my training part, but I'm going to be soon with moms and babies and kids. And it is so exciting. And I was there 22 years ago. That was the job that I left to go to teaching, because there's so much potential. These moms and these families are the gatekeepers for our future. And I know with 6 Million Seeds and the plant-based nutrition movement, you are all about making a better future, but doing it all together and having that appreciation for nutrition and the environment and sustainability. And so it is my absolute honor to be with you today.
Thank you so much.
The honor is ours.
It sure is. So
Go ahead.
A little bit about your background.
Mm-hmm.
How did this start for you?
So interestingly enough, I've been a dietitian for 22 years now, and about 10 years in, I had started teaching pretty early on, but about 10 years in, I was at a cooking class. I've always loved to cook. I was the little Italian girl, 6 or 7 years old, with my grandparents and my parents in the kitchen. My first recipe was cinnamon toast, and I can still see it in my mind. It was a little piece of paper with blue and yellow writing, just in case I forgot how to make cinnamon toast. But I was so proud. I just loved being in the kitchen. And so whenever I had an opportunity to go to a kitchen or a cooking class or even watch on TV, I always took advantage of that. So about 10 years after I became a dietitian, I was in a community cooking class at a church, and this woman was vegetarian. Actually, she was vegan. And she had said, I hate vegetables, but I love animals. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I do love animals too, but I love vegetables. So how does this work? How can you be a vegetarian or a vegan? I was very unfamiliar with people actually living it out. I mean, I learned in my school, these are vegetarian, this is lacto-ovo, this is vegan, all of that. But I didn't really know anyone growing up who actually practiced this way of eating. So I went to this class and I was really intrigued because she was being a bit creative with ingredients, but again, she was also not into all kinds of vegetables. And I thought, I need to really dig into this. And she had given me a few podcasts to listen to, a few suggestions, and that was it. I couldn't, all of a sudden, it was as if the sheets were taken off my eyes, and all of the work I'd done in the hospital, all of the work I'd done with counseling, where you really are trying to make progress, but you take one step forward and 2 steps back because you can teach someone with diabetes how to carb count and they'll never get off their insulin.
Right.
It just doesn't, from working in the hospital, from working as a pharmacist, it's just management.
Mhm.
It's disease management. And that was the reason why I left the hospital, is because I went into teaching, because I didn't want management. I wanted prevention, and I wanted prevention from the beginning. And so I was able to do that with my students. But when I learned about plant-based nutrition, I was like, where have you been all my life?
Yeah.
I loved, eating all those foods, but I didn't realize the impact of actually following such a comprehensive way of eating with plant-based, because we all can say, oh, well, I like broccoli and I used to eat potatoes. But there's a shift when you say, I am exclusively eating plants and I am going to find a way to have this be nourishing for me and not, have any kinds of deficiencies, or, not be eating not enough and all that, getting plenty. And so I learned about this and I thought, oh my gosh, how now can I go back to my college classes and teach what's in the textbook? Because the textbook
Doesn't have that.
Yeah.
no, it doesn't. And the textbook has at the time, my pyramid.
Yeah.
And then, as we went on to my plate, but it's the same old thing with, a different seat cover. So it was a very interesting summer that I learned about that, because I thought, okay, I have to change. I cannot tell my students one thing, privately do something else.
Yeah.
This just isn't working. And with the kids, and that's, the focus here, but it's interesting because students would say, well, once they found out how I was eating, well, do you make your kids eat this way? And I said, okay, first of all, it's not make them, and they are the most important people in my life. So would I make the environment so that they would not be poisoned by the processed food and stuff in the world? Yeah. They do eat like this, because why would I want to hurt them? Or be, have a hand in that. So it was kind of abrupt in that once I learned, I couldn't unlearn. And, I think a lot of people will identify with that, even if they didn't follow through all the way. As my position being a nutrition professor, I took a lot of responsibility for living it. I always live my recommendations, but also trying to get it out there as quickly as possible, because I didn't want more people to be suffering than, need be, if they were willing to make changes. So that meant, though, that I had to transition my family, right? Because I am fine with it. I was like, oh, okay, good. Learning about this, I'll try this instead, and these ingredients, I'll just swap them. And if it's healthful, then I'm down for it, because I am a dietitian and I'm good with that. But my kids did not sign up for that. And my husband did not sign up for that. He did know I was in nutrition when we got together and got married, but I was not vegetarian. I was not vegan. I was, I was like trying to be the healthier version, skinless, boneless chicken, ground turkey, all the things that we learned, non-fat milk. And he was a whole milk tri-tip grilling, guy. But he had a lot of respect for what I did. And he knew I just was so important to me to learn the most and to give my students the best experience and the most up-to-date research. And so he said, if anybody knows anything about nutrition, it's your mom. So we need to be listening to her. Yeah. But in the end, the food has to taste good.
That is very important. Yes.
This idea that setting our kids up, a lot of this has to do with the words we use. And one of the things that I did, I absolutely admit, and it was a big mistake, but I thought I was doing well, is that I told my kids, just taste it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. And I thought that was the way to go, because it felt like, not too much pressure, but at least I'm getting them to taste it.
Yeah.
Terrible advice.
Oh, no.
And that is because what happens is then the child has two options: to eat or not like.
Mhm.
So it doesn't leave space for, I'm just not hungry. I don't like the texture. Like, I'm uncomfortable with the texture. I don't like it. So then you end up with a kid who you offer something and they say they don't like it, but they've never had it before. And you say, well, you've never even eaten this. Oh, I know. Oh, no. So instead of going that route, you ask, tell me what it feels like. Tell me what it smells like. Tell me what it tastes like. And if you get a negative vibe from them, try to work on their vocabulary. Is it slimy? Is it pokey? Is it sour? Like, what is going on? Because if you can figure out what's going on, then it becomes more of a discovery about how to prepare something in a way that they would enjoy. And that's what I would teach my students, because I would say something about kale or collard greens. And sure enough, I'd hear someone, and this is college, but sure enough, I'd hear someone that would say, ew, gross, and so then I would always say, and if you've seen me, I always say, that's interesting. I don't believe I've had that prepared in a way I've enjoyed it yet. And that is the ticket, because you can make cauliflower soggy and mushy and sulfury, or you can have it roasted like buffalo wings, and it is night and day. But if you call it off on your first exposure, that was an overcooked, situation, then you potentially could be not enjoying something that could nourish your body and that you could love into the future. So when you have a situation with a kid and they say they don't like it, and you help them figure out what about it don't you like, then you can actually make some progress. And then they don't feel that pressure, and they also feel justified. It's okay that they had that experience. No, it's not. This is good. I don't know what you're talking about. Why this tastes great.
Invalidate their experience, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't feel good. So then they're thinking, well, next time I'm just going to say, I'm just not even going to go there. So that idea of giving them space. So this concept of the foodie bar. So I said foodie bars. So what is foodie bar? So foodie bar this book is as if Forks Over Knives, that movie, met Chipotle, I want that. No, I don't want that, but I want that and that concept met the Flavor Bible, right? So this idea that we're putting options together to set up one meal. Everybody's having pasta, or everybody's having pizza, or everybody's having nachos. They're really family friendly foods that are evergreen. We love them forever into the future, but in a way that loves us back. And we have options. We have basic options for people who are really just getting into this. My college students that told me no time, no money, and no experience in the kitchen. Here are some options. And then raising the bar, all kinds of different ideas. They could be recipes that are in the book, or just different ideas, like a loaded baked potato. One of the items on the raising the bar section is purple cabbage that's shredded. People make the purple cabbage on a potato. Trust me, I know what goes together, but you get to mix and match. So you can imagine in a family situation, having this beautiful spread and having the kids be able to put however much of whatever they wanted on theirs, and relaxing. We got into that idea of relaxing because all the options are good ones. So we don't have to worry about, oh, no, you can't take that. No, that's not, well, you have to eat everything else before you get that. No, just invite them, and they may taste a little bit. They're going to look at your plate and see what you're putting on yours, and they may taste a little, and then you can have that conversation. What did you think? Was that, oh, I like the broccoli, but it was a little soft. But really, I would always tell my students, do not serve overcooked vegetables to anyone. Like it, if you're okay with it, that's fine. But we vegetables already have such a hard reputation just because of our society that we don't need to add to it by, just make a soup, make a pureed soup, and everybody will be fine.
Right.
But don't serve it.
That's a good
So
idea.
yeah, but I love that idea, Carrie, that you can have that conversation. It's a conversation starter. And we're always going to be in situations where we're out of our comfort zone a little bit, and helping the kids do that in a safe way in the house is really important. I mean, that's another skill, because if we're always just kind of accommodating their wishes in such that I want a grilled cheese sandwich, or I want pasta with, earth balance, or, just something over and over and over. But then when we go out to someone's house, and then we're, no, eat that, don't, and then we're trying to be tough with them because we don't want, a bad situation to
Right,
happen.
we don't want to be embarrassed. Yeah.
Right. Then that sets them up for failure. But if at home we give them the opportunity to taste things and start to develop a vocabulary and start to be able to be in that, situation where they're getting out of their comfort zone, then when they go out, it's much easier.
How do you manage keeping everybody sane and keeping yourself, stress level low when it's a holiday and you're trying to pull something off that satisfies most of the palates in the house?
Well, it depends on what those family traditions are. If you are traveling to someone's house and you're bringing a certain item, versus you're hosting, I think when you get the opportunity to host and you can write the rules the way you want them to be, you can change up some of those traditions and make your own traditions. So you could take a foodie bar, like I grew up Italian, so we would do our Christmas Eve was lasagna. That's what my mom would always make. But that's also one of those that doesn't leave any room for choice, because she made it ahead and everybody gets a slice of it. And so if there was something in there that you didn't like, tough. But when we do pasta at our house, we do a foodie bar. So we will cook a few different types of pasta. We'll have a different, like a pesto and a kind of a creamy Alfredo, and then a marinara. And then we have different veggies that we like to cook to do mix in. So everybody says, well, I want this and this and this in mine, and I want that sauce. So everybody kind of has their own version. Or as a family, we decide, what are we going to do tonight? What are our favorites that we will put together? So you can, if you're trying to think about like doing a traditional Thanksgiving and turning that into a foodie bar, I don't know that would make a whole lot of sense, obviously, but you could certainly do a soup foodie bar where you had different toppings and different ingredients that you could put. That concept of a foodie bar really lends itself to all kinds of foods, whether it be in toppings or ingredients. But I think we need to consider reinventing some of these family traditions that we may have loved, but did not love us back. So I think that it's a good time right now with all the things that are changing, and over the past couple of years, to say, what do we really want out of this meal or this time with family? Because like you said, just the thought of some of those meals causes major stress and a lot of it's just because we have these, my mom and her mom, we used to make all this stuff, and it was, all this pressure where, really, is that what it's about? You talk to most kids, especially, and even like my son, he's like, I don't like any Thanksgiving food. He likes the apple pie.
Yep, I know a lot of people like that.
And so we keep these traditions on, thinking that that's a good thing, but sometimes I think questioning it and having a discussion with your family to say, this is about family. This is about being together and sharing what we're thankful for. We can't lose sight of that. So if there are some foods that we really love and that just, we can prioritize those, but to just feel like, I know a lot of families, they would get a ham, that was just part of, do we really need that? Like, is that going to make everybody feel? And most people are like, no, I eat a little bit of it because I feel guilty because someone bought it.
Right.
But now with plant-based, you can plant-based, veganize, all kinds of recipes. But I think before we get into that, we should just have one of those discussions with our families to say, what's the most important to you? What do you guys really love and enjoy? And we did that a few weeks ago with our kids. And we said, what would you want? Because it's a lot of work. It's expensive to try to do all those different dishes. So what would be the most meaningful, and what you'd enjoy the most? And really, if we can involve the family in the kitchen, it's so important for teaching them life skills, but also for including that as part of the memories that we're making.
Yeah.
So I think, really giving them the invitation to partner with us and look at them for being like a source of ideas, and, that completely empowers them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah.
And you can do that in a variety of ways, but that's one thing, especially with grandparents right now and parents who are feeling like this is the first holiday that I now have a diagnosis of diabetes or heart disease. And so I really should be eating this way, but I don't want to burden my family because they eat this way. Instead of making it that way, hey, let's everybody, how could we do this? How can we make the food we love, but make it in a way that we're actually healthier after we eat it?
Right, right. And that it still tastes good and it still upholds our family
Yeah.
flavor profiles or whatever else needs to happen there.
Yeah.
And all of that is spices.
Mm-hmm.
Flavor profile is not fat. Flavor profile is not, deleterious ingredients. It's the spices. So when you play with spices and you change out meat for mushrooms or lentils, it's the taco seasoning. That is what makes the taco flavor, so being able to experiment though, and taste testing. I mean, what do you guys think? Are we getting closer? So it's no one's pressure to deliver the perfect replica of whatever. It's like, no, let's see if we can make some really tasty tacos. What kind of ingredients can we use? And that's where my lists in the Foodie Bar Way come in handy, because it's like, what kind of mixing and matching can we do? And I tell people, I have a cauliflower lentil taco filling and for topping for nachos, and make it and then flavor it up. Add more. If you like it hot, like you want to burn your lips off, great. If you like it mild, you can do that. So it's just that invitation to play rather than the pressure to deliver something, with everybody else, because that idea of healthy, nobody's interested. But making it a family affair, coming back together and experimenting, having everybody kind of on the same playing field, I think really we can do a lot to further their curiosity so that their whole life they will be curious about different foods and how to grow them. And, like you said, the environmental piece is important too. So, yeah.
I think I might be trying a foodie bar for Christmas.
Yeah. Well, and it works really well for, the day after Christmas and, all those where everybody's kind of lazy as far as getting up and, different times. But I'm excited. I hope that more and more people will take this approach, because it really drops the pressure and increases their exposure to all kinds of different foods. And that's what it's about, because you can't get people bored. You have to keep things changing. You have to keep, new ideas flowing, but you want to keep it in that, like, okay, we're having a pasta night, or we're having, a pizza or whatever, and then just start changing up the options.
Yeah,
Which-
keep it familiar recipes, but yeah, variety.
Yes, yes. And that's what will draw, people in, and then keep them. And that's actually why I took this book and turned it into a community. I have the Foodie Bar Way of Life community, because when I wrote the book, I had to publish it at some point. I was like, okay, I got to stop. I can't just keep writing recipes. So I stopped at 32 foodie bars from breakfast through dessert. But then now I have more that I want to share, and I have more recipes for each foodie bar. So now I do a cooking demo every month in my group, and I expand on those foodie bars and revisit those foodie bars. And then we've added new ones, which is just a blast, because it just keeps everything fresh and sustainable. That it has to be that way. That's why I worked on that community, because I would have a student in class during the semester, and then after, they'd start to slide because they weren't with me anymore, and it's like, well, if I could live with you, well, you can't live with me, but this book will help you, and then now the community, because it's about day in and day out being able to sustain this way of living, because as you guys both know, and I know, it just keeps getting better. Your health just keeps improving. My parents changed their diet in their early 60s. Now they're in their mid 70s, and they're on 1, 2, 3 week motorcycle rides.
Wow.
And they got, and all their friends have one doctor's appointment after another, and they can only go for 2 days because they got dialysis, and they got, and my parents are like, beep, beep, and they're out of there. But it's never too late to make that change, but it's also never too early.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal of this whole project, the 6 Million Seeds project, is if we can get children eating healthy food early, then maybe they never will have diabetes or these cancers that are, I don't know if there are any necessary cancers, but they don't have to have the unnecessary ones. That's for sure. Needless.
Exactly. Yeah.
Disease could go away.
Yep.
Obesity in children could go away,
Yeah, we can turn the ship. It hasn't been that long since we have just completely succumbed to the processed food, and these foods, you don't even have to chew them. I mean, we're having issues
here in your mouth
and jaw muscles and formation of, and breathing and all, because we're not even chewing.
Right.
Yeah.
These foods.
That's an engineered thing, right? What do they
Yes.
call it? The disappearing calories, right?
Yes.
Put the Cheeto in your mouth and it just goes.
Yeah. It's
And
gone.
it's gone.
Yep,
And it's gone.
your
And it
brain
doesn't.
never registers that you had those calories. It's fascinating.
It is. It's really, but we are not too far from, we still can grow some carrots, in the backyard. We can still do some of these things, or go to the farmers markets with our kids and our grandkids and have them talk to the farmers with us. And how do you grow this? And bring it home and play with these foods.
So I have a question. If there's one piece of advice you could give a parent or even a grandparent that maybe wants to try this out and doesn't know where to start, what would you say?
Now, of course, you have been spending the last quite some time giving all that.
Yes,
but maybe
yes. But
one
like
new
one-
thing,
yeah.
one more thing.
Let me see. The first thing I thought of when you said that was just to relax. And I know we've talked about that. I just feel like that pressure, I think we know kids feel that. So I think a combination of relaxing, but also taking it as an adventure, like really taking this eating situation, this food preparation situation, this transitioning your way that you're eating as an adventure. Can we, something that I love, this concept, and I've never seen anybody use these words, but your kitchen being a culinary exploratorium. So going to the exploratorium where you get to some of those, features and and I'm trying to think, like exhibits that you have hands on, right? And you're playing in the sand or you're doing whatever and you're watching, you know, all those very interactive. And I feel like if we looked at our kitchens like that, and it wasn't just a place where people say, oh, it's just where I do dishes, or, you know, they just have all these negative ideas, but no, this is a place to play. You know, when I was little, we had the little baker with the light bulb, you know, the little Holly baker,
The
whatever.
oven,
And-
yes.
yeah, the
indeed.
easy bake oven. And I was so excited to be able to cook a little tiny, you know, cake with the light bulb. And now I have a whole kitchen. And, and it's a place where I can play. So I think just putting play back into this, like relaxing and making it as an adventure to play. I don't think we're having enough fun playing, especially around diet and, you know, even the word dietitian, it's like, oh, you know, I'm very proud to be a registered dietitian, but the word diet is in there.
Mhm.
And I'd much rather have people just play. And in the process, play with plants.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what we want. We want people to play with plants and find food that really they love, that loves them back. That's what it's all about.
Such a beautiful way to put it.
Really. Yeah, gorgeous. Well, I think we're about wrapped up. We're about out of
So-
time. Thank you so much for your
welcome.
enthusiasm and your
Yes.
colorful way of saying things. So wonderful, so refreshing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I'm honored to have been part of this very important movement.
You are a lifetime member now.
Yes.
Little did you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you are so welcome. 6 Million Seeds is made possible by the generosity of Bruno Chiropractic, Acme Construction Metals, EXP Realty, and Deck It Out Builders. We thank you for your support.